Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Wednesday in the Riv. And I guess the big news, CJ, you were telling me, is Will Flanagan is home.
Is home. Yes, he is.
Well, that's good
And
news.
he gave a telephone interview to a local news outlet. And they're going to air the full interview, phone interview at 5 o'clock, which is right now.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I'm sure we'll see something about that interview later. Right now, we are busy doing the show, and
Yep.
but it's good to hear that he's home. Supposedly, someone said that he said he's got a long rehab ahead of him, but he's home, and
And he hopes to be 100% by Christmas.
well, good.
So,
Well, that's good news. It's
yes.
nice to start the show with some good news. It's glad that he is home from the hospital, and I'm sure his it'll make his kids' Christmas, his children's Christmas, far better Christmas than having them in the hospital. But yeah, less than a week away from the election, are we?
Yes, we are. It's next Tuesday.
That's right.
If
That's
your
right.
ballot hasn't been mailed in yet, you're going to be shit out of luck. You're
Hint,
going to have to
hint,
go to the polls.
hint, hint, hint.
That's right. Big hint.
Big hint. Everybody get to the polls. But there was a debate on the Frank Baptista show. Jeff has said.
Yep, that was on the Portuguese station.
Mm,
Now, I'm
no.
not sure, but I know that Carlos Caesar had been asked to translate. I don't know if it was for the city council or the mayor or both or all of them, but I know he was asked to translate for Frank Baptista. I think it was the city council one, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if he should. He after he's endorsed the candidate, he should be allowed to translate.
True.
That
But let
is.
me tell you something. This is how soon people forget. Everyone's screaming that Carlos, as a Republican, should have endorsed the Republican candidate. I call bullshit on that. Okay? Personally, I wouldn't have endorsed anyone, but that's me. But I want to call your attention to the race between Paul Coogan and Sam Sutter, both Democrats, when the Fall River Republican City Committee endorsed Sam Sutter. Then I will call your attention to the Cliff Ponte Paul Coogan race, where again, the Fall River City Committee, Republican City Committee, endorsed Cliff Ponte, both Democrats. Okay,
Well,
you can't use one rule at one time and use a different rule at another time. Okay? The problem is Republicans are freaking fickle lately. I will never vote for anyone based on the party that they represent. Because as far as I'm concerned, they're all full of shit.
well, they are, but I have to kind of, I mean, the fact is, I tend not to agree with like there's some kind of traitor because loyalty is this is the problem. Political organizations are unfortunately supposed to be partisan, but they've proven that all they are uh, is politicians.
That's
And
right.
if it's not in their best interest, they will cross. And I don't think either way. And that's the whole problem. Endorsements
Are
bullshit
useless. Endorsements are
because
useless.
because listen, I don't care if a person's a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent. To me, if you're going to make an endorsement, you endorse somebody who you believe is a good candidate, and I find that difficult to believe that you know I'm troubled by the fact that a guy who ran against Coogan and attacked his record justifiably and made a lot of good points now endorses him. It speaks to that person, and I'm not real pleased with him. It shows me that uh, he's appearing to be just a politician now. You could ask the question, well, what's he getting out of this? Is he doing it because he's upset at Boomer? Is he doing it because he got promised something? I don't know. He was very vigorous and vocal, because we're going to be straight about this. He was very vigorous and vocal about how incompetent and inept Coogan was. He made a little. He did a lot of things. Yeah, well, Jeffrey, I have to, regardless of what you're saying, he didn't get anything. People are going to think that, uh, because number one, he went in front of the council and really kicked the crap out of him. And
Yes,
this
he
guy's
did.
a terrible mayor. And if you
Right.
endorse somebody that you had that much, that you knew how bad his record was, it makes people think. It makes people think. Okay,
Well,
I don't know
I'm
why
gonna
he did
tell
it,
you. I'm gonna
but
tell you.
he has a right to do it. But as far as I'm concerned, I will never ever never trust his integrity again,
Well,
because
and I'm
I
gonna tell
don't
you.
give
I'm
a
gonna tell you
shit.
something.
What? Let me finish.
Go ahead.
I don't give a shit what happened. I was once considered a friend of Paul Coogan's, and I have made it very clear. He has done such a terrible job as mayor, and he has shown he's, in my opinion, a reprehensible human being. Doesn't care about the people of Fall River. There's no way. No, I don't give a damn who if he was running against the love child of Adolf Hitler and Joe Stalin. I would not endorse him. So with that, you can take it. But that's, to me.
Well, and my thing is
I
this.
will always question his moral compass.
Well,
I'm
my
sorry.
thing is this. Okay, and I'm going to show you how parties are ridiculous. The person who consulted, ran, whatever the case may be, for Carlos Caesar was paid. He didn't do it for free. He was paid. Everything he did, he got paid for. He is now working for Gabriel Amaral. Is he getting paid? I don't know. I've looked over the OCPF reports. The Herald News was wrong. His treasurer did not get certified in 2024. She got certified in September of this year in 2025. So if we're going to put stories out there, let's put them correctly. As for Boomer coming out and calling Carlos Caesar a thief, a liar, etc., 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 you're supposed to be better than that, Gabe. You're supposed to be better than that. And remember, Carlos is no longer a politician. Okay? He's no longer a candidate. He's a civilian. What you printed out on social media is libelous. Not that anyone would want to sue you, because I don't think you have anything to sue for. But you've got to learn to control your temper. You've got to learn to control your mouth. This has been one of the problems you've had throughout this campaign. And I'll be very honest. People I talk to say that's the reason why I won't vote for him. They don't like what you do.
Well,
and the way you do
has
it.
the right to do whatever the hell they want to do, but the thing is that's Politics is a dirty game.
Yes, it is.
He has done things. Coogan has done a lot of reprehensible things too. We're not going to start that laundry list because we got 6 years worth of it.
I was going to
And
say,
I
we
don't
won't be
care.
off the air
I
until
don't care
midnight.
what his response was, okay? Because his response, people will evaluate as they see fit. This is the problem. Political parties suck because political parties, they're either blindly partisan, like the Democrats, going along with them shutting down the government and being afraid to open their mouth and fight against their lunatic wing that has driven their polls down. So the only thing I got to say about that is, that's right. You're right, Mike. We don't like and this is the problem. Uh, and but the reality is that you you look at the platforms, you look at what they're going to do, you have to evaluate. And sometimes, let's not be Pollyannish, okay? Let's not pretend that we're living in la la land where everything's perfect. Sometimes, most of the time in politics, you are faced with a choice of voting for either the bubonic plague or cholera.
That's right.
So you have to make a choice. So and you should make a choice. Some people don't subscribe to that theory. They'd say, I won't vote at all. Like you said, I disagree with that. I think as a voter and as a person who has always been very involved in government and fighting against what I believe is wrong, I think I always have to vote for the lesser of two evils. I have to get the least damaging candidate I can in that office to be elected. But as far as this other crap is concerned, I just don't. And endorsements don't mean shit. Let's face it. And as far as his campaign guy switching over, hey, the guy gets paid. That's what his job is. But let's face it. It doesn't speak very well of their evaluation, Boomer's campaign. Look at the shitty job he did for Carlos.
Right.
I mean, that guy was a clown, just
right.
like the guy with the cockatoo hairdo.
That's right.
Quiet. They get these people from Boston. They don't know shit about Fall River. They tell them to run a generalized cookie cutter campaign.
Which doesn't work in Fall River.
Which doesn't work and never works. One of the reasons that the recall worked was it was run by Fall River people, knocked on doors. Fall River people knocked on doors. Fall River people went to the thing. And we reached out to the people who normally don't vote. And that's the thing. And this is the problem. So people have to make their choice. And unfortunately, from the way this thing is shaping up, there's not a lot that, this is going to be a difficult choice. I think that, a lot of people, it really hasn't been a definitive campaign. We said there's not a lot of information out. And I think that makes people's choices tougher. I really don't see any definitive. I know what Coogan's policy is, take care of the rich people, but that's not that problem. I long ago said I wouldn't vote. Like I said, I wouldn't vote for Coogan if he was the love child of Joe Stalin and Adolf Hitler, because he's just proven it. And pictures of. What is that? Is that supposed to be Azores? Is that a typo? Because he's talking about the Socialist Party in Portugal. So, yeah. Well, isn't it amazing that socialism really always grows in countries that are already have a high standard of living, so they can destroy that standard of living because people get too used to getting. Yeah. So, yeah, some people have that opinion.
A lot of people have that opinion.
Yeah. And another 2 years of this city, I'm convinced we're going to be destroyed. I'm convinced that that we will be in receivership within 5 years. Another 2 years of this guy, I don't know how we can, financially, they're just sticking their fingers in the dikes, and we know it. They're just sticking their finger in the dike. They're $2 million in a hole for healthcare. They're $3 million in a hole for trash. And we don't know how many millions of dollars are in a hole when all the bills come due, because we don't know that. And there was $600,000 worth of pay raises in the budget. So that's another 600. And all these contracts that they've negotiated in the interim are going to cost a lot more money. There's hidden money there. A lot of hidden debt we have in this city. We have a lot of hidden debt because of collective bargaining. These people, he gives away the STOA. He's giving out $20,000 pay raises, $40,000 pay raises. And then down the road, remember, most of these contracts with the collective bargaining units are 3 years. That's the maximum contract allowable under law. And it's not the first year of the contract that's going to bite you in the ass most of the time. It's the last 2 years. When other benefits, because most of the time they're back end loaded. As someone who negotiated a lot of contracts, I know that. But in the old days, when we had mayors that really watched the city and paid attention and had people who knew what the hell they were doing in collective bargaining, we had to actually have the long-term cost and the cost of that contract to the penny. Every single benefit we asked for, not only pay raises, increases in the clothing allowance, increases in holiday pays, increases in stipends, increases in anything, had to be down to the penny. When I went to the JLMC twice, and one, in front of the arbitrator from the JLMC, you have to show them the cost of every single thing and the long-term cost of the contract. We don't do that anymore. Paul Coogan has thrown that out the window. And as I did about the healthcare, warning him we'd run out of money, I warned him about collective bargaining. You can't do this. Remember, the former CFO of this city went in front of the city council and said, when being questioned by our counselor who always sticks up for the people, Michelle Dion, how are you going to fund this? And Sean Kadim did get into that with him, saying, how are you going to fund it? And you'll remember this, CJ. What did she say? We're looking at investments down the road.
Future investments.
We're looking at you can't do that.
That's right.
That's not a funding source. I'm sorry. If you went to the JLMC, they'd throw you out of the room. They'd say, what are you, nuts?
Right.
It's like saying, you and I, I'm predicating my budget on, wait a minute, I got a Mega Millions ticket in my wallet. So if I hit it, I'm going to be able to pay my bills. If I don't, well, I guess we're going to be in a hole some more.
That's it.
What's going to happen with Paul. Paul is kicking the can down the road till after the election, and then it's really going to hit the fan, because you can't run a budget this way. People don't understand the impact of collective bargaining down the road. These people have benefits that you're legally bound to fund because you negotiated it. But that law also says, which this city never abides by, and a council never does its job fiduciarily because they approve these contracts all the time. It says in chapter 150E, and you guys can look it up, section 7, I even know the section, I don't have to look it up. It says that within 30 days of the execution of a contract, the city council has to approve the funding of that contract, and every single cost item in there has to be fully funded. And they're not. They said it. They went in front of a council and said, we're looking at, to this day, now Bridget's been gone a little while now. Have we ever heard about the funding that they were looking at to fund those contracts? No. They just said Paul's famous thing. Let's forget about it. We talked about that 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and everybody's going to forget. Well, I don't forget. We don't forget. And the taxpayers won't forget, because we're going to be on a hook when you have to fund all these contracts and pay all these things. You can't get away with shit like this because at some point in time, if you want to dance, you have to pay the band. And we're going to pay the band big time. So this city's in trouble. I mean, we will be in receivership.
But again, when we look at what we have before us, okay, like you said, bubonic plague or cholera.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one guy who has a record of being a screw up. Okay, and who acts in the benefit of his friends, the bankers, the developers. That's who he acts in the benefit of. Screw you if your taxes go up. Screw you if your water bill goes up. Screw you if you can't afford to pay your bills, because guess what? We don't care. As long as my friends get their tax breaks, who cares if your taxes go up? That's on one side. On the other side, we don't have a plan. Nobody goes into office knowing how to do the job. It's OJT. It's on the job training. It's always on the job training. And you can have great dreams and make lots of promises. But that doesn't mean what you promised and what you've dreamed is going to happen.
Well, that's very true. We all,
okay.
We know that. Yep.
Yeah, because remember, we want a forensic audit. But do you realize you got to get the city council to approve the funding for that forensic audit? And if they don't, you don't have it.
Yeah, well, that should be. If they vote against that, I'm going to tell you what, I said I'd never run another recall, but if somebody ever voted in the city council against a forensic audit of this city, I would be looking to start another recall. Okay? Because that's absurd.
Yes,
if you're a fiduciary, I would file a lawsuit against the councilors.
But again,
for saying they won't audit themselves. This is like the state. These nitwits in this state, these wokies, they are allowing the legislature not to have an audit. They're just ignoring it.
That's right.
And what are they doing? They're still going to be in there sitting planted up and this is what we got. See, this is politicians. And look, like I said, you don't know what this guy's going to do. And look, you're right. Nobody knows how to be a mayor unless they've been a mayor.
That's right.
But the thing is about being a good mayor, being a good president, is having people in your cabinet or in your employ in the city who know what they're doing. You've got to, if you're going to deal with collective bargaining, you should hire people that have a good record in being good negotiators. If you want the city to be run well financially, you have to have a guy like Alan Sylvia, not the Alan Sylvia rep, the Alan Sylvia who was the city administrator, the first city administrator with a Harvard MBA who gave you the numbers, whether you like them or not. These are the kind of people you have to put in your administration or reach out to. You can't get a Paul Coogan deal where we go through CFOs and stuff like a revolving door because you got a bunch of, half the time they're like Boob McNuts. But this is what you got in politics today, okay? These are the kind of, you can't see that. It's tough. I can't get it in front of that camera. Well, this is it. Aide to Mass Governor Healy charged in cocaine trafficking scheme allegedly linked to state office building. Former prosecutor it says Massachusetts is a go-to state for criminals. Former Wendy Murphy, a former prosecutor, about Boston sharp rise in homicides. A 143% increase in the first half of 2025. Has anybody heard of that? I haven't till today. I told you they always fudge the numbers. And this is about that. An aide to Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey was arrested for cocaine trafficking after investigators intercepted packages with the drug slated to be delivered to a state office building where he worked. Allegedly, of course, right now. Uh, Lamar Cook, 45 of Springfield, pleaded not guilty, blah, 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 blah. You know? Uh, and this is what we have. You elect these people to office, and they're not working for you. Some of them are criminals. And I mean real criminals. And this is the problem. And in this state, nothing ever changes. We're still going to elect all the Democrats again. And we still. It wasn't my choice.
I put them all up already.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, yeah, it's your choice. No, it's the people. Well, it's not really well, it is the people's choice. That's the problem, Dan. The people don't participate, as Roosevelt said. The reason Rome was destroyed was the people stopped voting and they let politicians run politicians. But yeah, I don't, Steve. I'm trying to read that, but very high.
It says I spoke very highly of Carlos. Did you ever think that if he were voted out of the primary, that he would endorse a rhino named Carlos Caesar?
But that's like endorsing himself. He just
right.
Said, I think that's kind of I don't, unless I'm, and I can't read very.
He meant Coogan. He said meant Coogan.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Yeah. I didn't expect it. He didn't ask me. He did it,
and he's not a. And well, let's put it very clearly. We always try to get as many facts as possible on this thing. Carlos Caesar was not a Republican very long.
That's right. He became a Republican.
That was kind of a party pick of convenience. And rhinos, again, as CJ said, the Republicans are always staggeringly unpredictable. Because the Democrats, no matter how bad they are, they will fight with each other internally, but you'll never see, very rarely do you see a Democrat, like look what they're doing with the left. They're killing the party, but you still won't see people. The only guy was, what's his name, from West Virginia, who just got out of the party.
Right.
He failed to run. But most of them, except for Fetterman now in the Senate, very rarely will they go against and say these people are lunatics. But the Republican Party is just the opposite. They fight amongst themselves more than they fight against the Democrats. That's the problem with the Republic. That's why they can't get one foot in front of the other in this state, because they're always they're like Democrats. Democrats love labels. Fascist, Nazi, you name it, you got a label.
As I said, both parties are full of shit.
Yeah, rhino. See, that Republicans love to call the other guy a rhino. You're a Republican, but there's also something you don't hear very often anymore. But we turned that around on them a long time ago, because we have Dinos too.
That's right.
Democrats in name only. Because we have people like Mondami calling himself a democratic socialist. That's an oxymoron.
Or just a moron.
Yeah, it's just a moron. It's an oxymoron. I have no idea.
I never asked him. It'd be interesting to know.
Frankly, I don't care what happens in Portugal. I'm nothing against Portugal, but I don't live there. I will fight to the death against socialism in this country, because it doesn't work. I know there's big movements. You're right. They are. That's almost the definition of a regular politician. Hypocrite who only cares about themselves and taking care of their cronies. I mean, no matter what party they are. This is why, I long ago should have said, it's unfortunate, this country should not be a two-party system. We should have more parties like they do in some countries. Some countries, they have more than two parties.
That's true.
And in those countries, you see a better balance of power. Realistically, you see people thrown out, you see people getting chucked out, but we don't have that here. We've got this system where those two parties are so entrenched, they're so you can't run against them under normal circumstances, especially nationally, that they just don't care. There's no consequences for it. Look at they're holding up the government, and one of them finally admitted it again today. They had that Chris Coons. They finally did it. We had what's his name from California, Ro Khanna, admit that it was about illegal health care to a degree when he said, "Oh, it's only a small part of that 1.5 trillion we want." But today I saw an interview with Coons, and he screwed up. He said the words. He said basically, "I know what we're doing is wrong, but it's the only leverage we have." They're holding the government hostage for political leverage, and he admitted it. And he'll get reelected in his district. This is what you got. This is why you got to throw them all out every once in a while. Screw the party. You elect a Democrat this time. He doesn't do the job. Elect a Republican. He doesn't usually throw them out. Make it a revolving door. Make it like the Wheel of Fortune. And then ultimately, they'll get the message. If you want to run for public office, you've got to work for the people, not your friends and not for the party. People know. You realize that congressmen and senators spend 50% of their time raising funds for their party? They're required to do that. You know that, CJ.
Yep.
They're required
to
raise funds for the party, not just for themselves, for the party. 50%. Right. Then they spend 25% of their time raising funds for themselves, and then they spend the other 25% of the time on the stock market getting rich. And so it leaves us no time for them to represent us.
Hey, I gotta answer this. I've been sitting here thinking I'll ignore it and whatnot. This is from Bernadette. Chip, I would like to hear what CJ has to say about Carlos endorsing.
Well, let him say it.
Number one, I said that already. So obviously, Bernadette, clear out your ears or log in on time. Okay? Yeah. Secondly, I said already, I wouldn't have endorsed anyone. And when Carlos lost the election, I told him, everyone's going to ask you for an endorsement. Don't bother. Carlos gave his reasons. That was his choice. Everyone has a choice to make. They make it. You made the choice, Bernadette, to climb up Boomer's ass. No problem. We understand that. Okay? We understand that. Not a problem. That's your choice. Okay? That's your choice. DJ. Just like other people who are in this line have climbed up Boomer's ass too. And that's okay. That's their choice. That's the choice you have in this country. You have a First Amendment right. And I know what it's like to have your First Amendment rights trampled upon.
So do I.
And let me tell you something.
Why don't you make it a little clearer? Why don't you make it a little bit clearer about the motivation for that comment? I'm only kidding. I'm being facetious.
I know.
But yeah, some people attach themselves.
You don't have potatoes, Steve. You got mushrooms.
Well, yeah. But listen,
or are you growing those marijuana trees in there? I don't know.
Steve, I gotta look. We've been in this game a long time. We know that. Look, everybody has a different, unfortunately, the average voter's motivation to vote is not what is in their own best interest. They will look at political alliances, political allegiances, friends, whatever friendship. They don't vote with their head.
That's right.
And we know that. And look, I don't think CJ meant anything by saying, okay, some people vote because they attach themselves to a politician. Does he believe it? No. Do I believe that's the right way to vote? No. I don't attach myself to any party.
No.
or any. I've been an independent my entire life, and if you go back and look at the rolls, you'll see me vote in Democratic primaries, Republican primaries, but very rarely in the primaries, unless there's a candidate who I really, really support. Uh, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, that's a battle scar worthy of those are signs of combat that are always good. It means you're in the fight, Stevie. I'm glad, you know. But you should have wore headgear.
No, I didn't come up with anyone but Coogan. I didn't come up with the ABC. That came up from several people in the community. Okay? And just because I'm anyone but Coogan doesn't mean I'm all for Gabriel Amaro. As I've said before, and I will say again, I have asked for a plan. Gene Valicenti asked for a plan. No plan has been forthright in coming. And that's okay. If that's the way Gabriel Amaro wants to run his campaign, more power to him. There's nothing I can say about it. Nothing I can do about it. I'm not his campaign manager. I'm not the one running it.
Well,
but when he was approached in October of last year, and I know he was approached because I was part of the group of people that was approaching people who may run. He said he wasn't running for mayor. As a matter of fact, he wasn't running for anything. Then, after that committee of people went behind Carlos Caesar, lo and behold, he decided he's running for mayor.
Well,
he's still on the ballot, Stevie.
He's still on the ballot. Yeah, I don't think he's technically running. I haven't seen a lot of anything.
I haven't seen anything.
But let me get back to that other thing. Listen, everybody has a right. You know, voting is a privilege. It's our right, but it's a privilege. And people can exercise, unfortunately, people can also exercise the right not to vote. You know, and I don't agree with it. I agree, as I said, I always agree that it should be I will always vote for the lesser of two evils. Sometimes I've contemplated not voting, but I could never bring myself not to.
It's always been a popularity contest, Dan. Yeah. Always.
Now, you know, you're right, because listen, we got to look at history. If you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. How did Pat Casey get in? I mean, unfortunately, she was one of the most inept, incompetent councilors we've ever had in the history of the city, yet she was there for a very long time. Why did she get it?
Stop obnoxious smells. SOS.
Yeah, she was involved in a lot of South End organizations. She was a dog groomer, had a lot of customers from throughout the area. Was involved in a lot of groups, which is good. You know, she had a voter base of people who just liked her. Now, maybe for city council, a lot of people vote for people because they know them, they like them, and it's one of 9 people. They can't be that damaging, but they can. I disagree with that assessment, but. But when it's coming to mayor, who fundamentally is the captain of the ship,
Bernadette,
you've got to be a little bit more.
Bernadette, I don't hate Boomer. As a matter of fact, I have a long history with Gabriel Amaro. His daughter and my daughter went to school together. They used to spend overnights at each other's house. Okay? Politics isn't personal for me. Politics is politics. When you make it personal, this is what happens. And just so you know, Bernadette, the Flint Neighborhood Association can lose its nonprofit status for sponsoring political events. And I know because I used to file the tax filings for the Flint Neighborhood Association. Did you file last year's? I don't know because I didn't. Nobody asked me to. I was asked today by Carlos Caesar to be sure that it was filed. And I couldn't do it because the password system has changed. They now use ID Me, which I already have one. So I can't tie that mine to the Flint Neighborhood Association. So you're going to have to create a new ID Me for the Flint Neighborhood Association and do your filing as a 990 Z to make sure it's filed. Otherwise, you will lose the nonprofit status of the Flint Neighborhood Association. And that $5,000 donation you got will become taxable. You want to make it personal? Let's go.
Well, I've
held off on you because of your mother. I've known your mother for many years.
Well, listen, it doesn't matter. You know, I mean, unfortunately, they've made politics very, very personal.
Yes, they have.
Should be about politics on a national level. We have people that are advocating killing people and assassinating people because they have a different political view, and that's extremely dangerous. This country was created by a whole bunch of groups that didn't agree. They all had religious differences, but they were all persecuted religiously in the country where they originated from, where they came from.
And no, Bernadette, Carlos wasn't in charge. Carlos resigned as president of the Flint Neighborhood Association at the beginning of his campaign. And you assumed that role. Let's get the stories correct. Okay?
Yeah,
just like the lies being told by your candidate that Carlos was a thief and stole money from the Flint Neighborhood Association. Every audit that was done while he was president was proven to be accurate. There was no debit card on the Flint Neighborhood Association's accounts, and every dime that was spent had to go through the treasurer. Carlos wasn't even a signatory on the accounts. I know.
Okay.
Because I spoke to the treasurer.
Let's get back to the election. It's a sad commentary on the election that I just pulled this as I was talking. This is the most definitive. This is the most definitive campaign I've heard for city council. I went over this to the show. I got this on my door from Michael Canuel. He talks about smarter spending, protecting taxpayers' hard-earned money, stronger services. Sounds like a very generic thing, but he's the only one that actually put something in writing.
That's right.
He didn't get anything in depth, but he gave you an idea, or at least look. If you're a non-incumbent, we don't have a crystal ball. If somebody says they're going to do this and they don't, it's up to us not to give them another term. Therein lies the problem. So, I mean, everybody keeps going over. Well, you gotta vote for this reason. You gotta vote for that reason. You gotta vote. You like the guy. No, you don't have to do anything. What you have to do is supposedly do what we did 16 years ago on the show. Follow the money and do your homework. Find out the person that's going to work for you. Remember what you're voting for.
Do your research.
Representative. You're voting for a representative. That's what our Constitution says in our Commonwealth, which preceded the United States Constitution. It was there before the Constitution of the United States. Massachusetts had its Constitution. And it says they are our substitutes and agents at all times and answerable to us. They are not answerable to us if we don't make the right choices. We get the government that we deserve. It's that simple.
That's right.
And you're right. People make this personal now, but that's because parties, Democratic Party has let this get out of control.
That's right.
They have let this, and I mean, I'm not a big fan of the Republican Party either. But
like I said, both of them are full of shit.
Yeah, but when you start not saying a peep, when you start not saying a peep about people advocating to kill federal agents, assassinate people, and make fun of that assassination, there's a serious problem. You have a serious mental problem. And but you've got to vote in your own best interest, not it because you like somebody. I don't give a damn if my plumber is the biggest asshole in the world. If this guy is a great plumber, can fix my plumbing and give me a decent deal on it, I'm happy. I don't have to take him out to dinner. I don't have to bring him to a cookout. I don't have to do anything with him. I'm not required to. I want a guy that can do the job. The mayor of the city of Fall River is the most important job in the city of Fall River. You can't elect somebody because you like them. You got to elect somebody because they're going to do the job. And the only way we know they're going to do the job is when we demand that they tell us what they're going to do. And we've demanded it. I got to read this one. Full cart of groceries. Well, as a man after my own heart, Steve. Wouldn't be the first time that CJ and I didn't get into an argument in a store and stuff and leave the store. Yeah. But I mean, I even did that at a gas station. Really, see, the guy just like ignored me, and it was doing a crossword puzzle or something. And I stood at the thing trying to give him my money to gas up for about 5 minutes, and he's like diddling around and didn't even say, "I'll be right with you." No, I just kind of ignored me, and I said, "Okay, screw it." I walked back to my car. I got in the car and I drove to another gas station. So, but it's like, yeah, but no, they haven't, Dan, because they don't understand the stuff.
Right.
They don't care. It's their simple. They got a real simple policy. Kick the can down the road. Be the little Dutch boy sticking the finger in the dikes, moving the money around, robbing Peter to pay Paul, or in this case, rob everybody to pay Paul and his friends. I made that's a little joke. But Dan, you're wrong. You don't know me. I probably would. I'd divorce her and kick the shit out of him. But if he did, if he still wanted to work for me, I'd hire him. That's the difference. Everybody's different, Dan. I'm not like you. So
you have to admit, though, it is a funny.
No, it's a nice, but I'm glad he asked that question because now we can see the difference with different philosophies.
That's right.
See, my philosophy is always go get the best you can get. And
let's go.
I want quality in everything I do. I don't want the Chinese tin version. I'm going to go out and buy the stainless steel version. When I buy a tool, I buy the best tool I can afford. If I buy something else, if I want to hire a contractor, I'm going to hire a contractor that I know is a really good contractor, and he does great work. And I don't care about them. Maybe some guys will work for me, and I'll like them and we'll get along and it's fine. But I don't care. I hire a guy to come in and do my plumbing, do my electrical work and stuff like that. They come in and they do the job and, it is what it is. It's just like, this is what you got to do with politicians. They're not your friends. They're working for you, or they're supposed to be working for
I was
you.
going to say, they appear to be working for you.
Yeah, No, not better than you, I think, but just different. You probably wouldn't hire them, but you'd still have to bill your wife. but that's another story. But listen, it's like it is what it is. It's just they're working for you. It's like, I got a contract with the gas company for my heating system. I think it's a good thing to have. I don't have to pay, for the parts and stuff like that if anything breaks down, and they tune up my system every year. So, every year I call them up, I make an appointment, the guy comes over, checks the system and stuff, and it's a different guy every year. So I don't know, the guy, nice kid came over this year, I let him in, he did what he had to do, and he left. So do I care? And he seemed like a nice kid, but I don't care if the kid wasn't that nice. He just did his job, but he was a personable kid. But it's got nothing to do with it. I'm paying him for a service. We elect a politician for a service to make our lives better, not worse, better. And this is what you should vote on. You should be a cold calculating, hitman. You only get the people that are going to do the job for you. You're hiring for a job. You're not adopting them. But that's what they think. Once they get in office, we've adopted them and they're there for life. I can't claim Elizabeth Warren as a dependent. I should, with all the taxes and shit that they dump on us. We should be able to claim Paul Coogan as a dependent. When I see my tax bill and my water bills and my other bills, I wish I could claim them as dependents because they're really tucking it to us. But we can't. That's why you got to put the best person you can possibly put in. I disagree with people who don't vote at all, but they have that right. But, at least they're going to vote for the other one. Annalise, I'm glad we're giving you a laugh. But it is what it is. You're hiring them to do a job. It always just baffled me that people think it's like you're hiring a friend. I got to hire a friend because I want to be able to call them up and say,
and that's the problem we have with fall river politics. Instead of people flushing the incumbents, all of them, I'm not going to pull out anyone, all of them, okay, and put in an entirely new batch of people. And at the end of that cycle, flush them again until they learn that they're not going to be kept forever, like Linda Pereira for what, 28, 30 years?
Yeah.
It's time for these politicians to learn that their job isn't guaranteed. They all think their job is guaranteed. That's why they keep running, even though Linda's husband wants her to stop. She keeps running. I don't know what it is.
Well,
I don't know if she's going to get her friend a job and she can't get it done or what the case may be.
All right, I just want to see one thing. I think I thought of a job that everybody hires the best person they can, whether they like them or not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we can find somebody that watches that says, no, you're wrong. I would hire somebody I liked. That's a lawyer. If you were on trial for murder and you got a lawyer that was a really great guy, fun, told jokes, take you out, invite you out to a beer, invite you to his house, but he couldn't get anybody off. He's horrible. It's going to look like My Cousin Vinny, the movie.
Right.
That, So it's like, oh God, the guy with the stutter that started doing it. Not that stuttering's wrong, but it is. But when the guy got up and he couldn't give an opening statement. But when you hire a lawyer to keep you out of jail, I want the biggest son of a bitch I could ever get. I want a guy that is an absolute killer. I want that guy to go in there and just level everybody. I want the best lawyer I can find. Why can't we do that with politicians? You do it with plumbers, you do it with electricians, or you should, unless you want to get screwed. But that's the thing. Nah, you just get fired, Steve.
They wouldn't fire you. They would buy you out.
Yeah.
And send you on your way with a good recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, if he really got him pissed off, he would get a. But this is the problem, guys. Look, we're less than a week away. Tell all your friends to vote. Look, I don't care how they vote, but at least let them vote.
Right.
Let's have an election that we can say is actually truly at least partially representative of what the people in Fall River want. This 14,000, 15,000 people and 40,000 people don't vote is crazy. No, you're right. But sometimes you have to make, I believe, the choice of the lesser of two evils. Like I said, sometimes it's a choice between bubonic plague and cholera. Sometimes you've got two really good candidates or something for an office. Very rarely, but I mean. But it's scary, you look at this thing and look at what people who really stood up for the people, what happened to them. John Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln. People who stand up for the people, the powers that be, the rich that run this country sometimes don't like these people. And we know what happens.
That's our problem, Bernadette. People vote the same. They vote the same people in. They don't get rid of the trash. They don't get rid of the people who do nothing, like Brad Kilby, like Paul Hart, like Linda Pereira. I mean, they don't get rid of them. Like Andrew Raposo, they don't get rid of them. They think because they show up at everything under the sun, have their picture taken everywhere, that they're good representatives. They're not. Look at their voting record. Somebody put a post up today. Tell me who voted for the water rate increase so I won't vote for them. There was no water rate increase. So why even ask a question like that?
Because it was an election year.
People are.
What he should have asked is who voted for last year's water increase, because
that's right.
An election year. That's so. But you got to ask the right questions to get the right answers. But if you ask a politician, you still might not get the right answer.
Exactly. Oh no, Joe Camara's on my hit list. Believe me. There's no question.
Annalise is saying a record-breaking early turnout in New York City. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All socialists.
I'm telling you, they're really got a big movement over there to get it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we know that, but we know that Joe gets a boost from particular ethnic groups. So that's how he gets in.
And the priest at St. Anthony of the Desert Church makes sure that Tom Corey and Joe Camara gets his impromptu, gets his approval. So, okay, the only people that win when you get a whole slate of officers, or 9 new city councilors.
We got a big question here. I got to answer, CJ, before we leave.
Go ahead.
Do you think Howard Cosell had a bias for Muhammad Ali? I think Howard Cosell and Muhammad Ali had a great friendship. But I think Howard tried to be, sometimes maybe he wasn't. He did lean a little bit. But I remember Howard basically saying it was time for Ali when he was getting really losing it at the end of his career. Howard Cosell implored him to retire and things like that. So I think they forged a very close relationship between those two guys, but he had a little tiny bit of bias, but I think Howard Cosell was a pretty decent announcer. So I had to answer that question. It's about boxing. I love boxing and
Yes,
wrestling.
I know.
MMA.
You are a licensed trainer. We know.
That's right. I love that
That's
stuff.
something you should be
Cauliflower
proud of.
ears, Stevie. Cauliflower ears, baby.
That's it. All right. I want to thank you all for watching. Oh, before I say that, Annalise, ciao.
Ciao. That's right. Ciao, Annalise.
Okay. I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Halloween. Have a great day.